it's Lori, and welcome to my garden here on Main Street. I'm a Zone 7B garden, and it is the middle of January, and we have had a very cold winter. I guess it's probably normal temperatures, but we've been spoiled the past couple years with warmer days. So we're actually getting ready for another round of snowstorms. So I was coming out today with this gorgeous sunshine to take a walk through the garden and just see how things are looking. So I thought I'd bring you along. So our first priority today is I'm going to show you a lot of the maintenance that I need to do. But my big objective is I'm making my garden plans for some updates that I want to make this year. So I thought I would show them to you. I'd love your input. Any suggestions that you might have are more than welcome. So let me turn the camera around and I'm going to show you, we'll talk about maintenance, but we'll also talk about some of those updates that I'm going to do this year. All right, let's go before it gets too cold. Okay, so the first thing that I want to show you, of course, this is the entrance to our garden. I still need to take my Christmas bell down. And then as you come around, we planted these two. This is either a Sawyer juniper or I'll look up the name and put it on the screen. I always get it mixed up. These grow really thin and they will hardly touch at the end. I think they get maybe no more than 3 to 4 feet. They do get a little dark in the winter, but then they green right up. So we spent money on two, but I don't like things in twos. And so what I want to do is add a third, basically where this Japanese holly is. So I would have to move it over, but I really think three right here will just be beautiful. There is another reason that I want the third, and I'll show you that when we come back around. So then as we go this way, this is actually a new garden right in front of this Jane Magnolia. So this used to be planter boxes. I'll put a picture up. And this year it's full of hydrangeas, and I'm actually going to be transplanting 2 roses up here. So this bed will be coming together. I'm excited to see how it's going to look. As you come along, you can see I do still have some perennials to clean up and just some things to cut back and clean up leaves. I do have to say I have loved these Japanese hollies. They just stay so green and beautiful in the winter. And these boxwoods I think are Green Mountain, and they have done really well, very little bronzing. Now this is the big dilemma. So this is a Hinoki cypress and it has grown, not very much, but you can see how it gets these dead needles in the winter. They just come right off. Um, but while my husband loves it, I don't love it in this spot. And I have decided it's really starting year 4. This was one of the first things we planted. I think I'm going to move it towards the shade garden in the back. And then I want to put probably another evergreen here. I thought about doing some type of maple, but I'll show you why I'm thinking evergreen. I'm going to turn around in just a second and I'll show you some of the uh, view issues, privacy issues. I'm wanting to create more rooms and structure in the garden. Now, this crazy looking, this is a hummingbird or it's not a trumpet vine, so it doesn't spread, but this actually was my mother's. And this trellis is just beautiful. It's a globe. I do need to give this a really stern haircut this year. We moved it from my mom's house 2 years ago and it's just done fantastic. So I love this here. It's beautiful and it's looking really healthy. Now I did recently cut back my hydrangeas and those are doing really good. This bed overall I'm really happy with. This is a Rosa Sharon. I do need to come do some pruning on her. I like to kind of keep her limbed up. And this year I'm going to top her off. I don't want her to get too big. I actually just watched Jenny from 𝐋𝐿𝐶, Gardening with 𝐋𝐿𝐶, and she had just given hers kind of a nice prune. So I'm going to do that as well. All right, so let's walk through the garden and I'm going to show you why I'm considering these major kind of two tree updates. Okay, so as you look at this space, you can see that we share a parking lot with my neighbors. And my neighbors also have a playground area in the back. There are also, it's an electrical box, but you don't see that in this season. But we do see the driveway and their kind of play area. So I'm thinking that we need to frame this in a little bit more. Our neighbors are great, nothing against them, but I want the garden to feel a little cozier. So I'm thinking that right there, kind of where the red car is, we need to add a third of the junipers. So I think it'll just turn that corner. We'll have three there and it will block some of that. Now, the Jane Magnolia is going to continue to grow, and I do have some hydrangeas that are going to get up pretty tall during this season. But as you come around, I feel like we have a gap right here where the Hinoki is, and then all the way over to the Mary Jane. And I think we need more greenery. So I'm envisioning maybe two evergreen trees just to create a little bit more of a a little bit more seclusion, a little bit more of a garden room, which is what these are really supposed to be. So as you come this way, this garden space, we've got the large evergreen, we've got some rows of Sharons, we've got some skinny evergreens, and we have some large ones that we just added this fall. And I know that these are going to take off and be really nice and full. So I think that is, I guess, my number one gardening project. As soon as March comes along, our local nursery always does a tree sale. And so I definitely want to get that third, put it right where that holly is. And then let me know what you think I should do in this other area. I really feel like two evergreens. Now, the reason I'm going with evergreens would be I don't want the leaf cleanup. We have huge sugar maples in the back of our property, and then there's trees, hardwood trees all around. And those dump so many leaves. We spend at least 2 weekends every fall cleaning up the leaves. I also think evergreen for the winter, this side just doesn't have a lot of interest. And while during the season, everything is lush and beautiful, um, during the year, it just, during the winter rather, it looks a little empty. So, again, let me know what you think. Okay, my next dilemma are these boxwoods. These are called a Chicago Hardy. They got a little winter damage, of course, and one on the end may not have made it. But I have not been happy with their growth rate. I really wanted this garden bed to have some definition from the one back there. And unfortunately, they're so small relative to everything else in the garden. So we've got Sunshine Ligustrum in the back, we've got Sweet Spire, we've got a big pink cascade butterfly bush, the Rose of Sharon. This bed has just really come together. But those little kind of puny, I can definitely move those to other parts of the garden. And I'll step back and show you a different view. But I am thinking that this might be project number 2. Now, if you're looking at this garden bed, it needs a good hour of cleanup. You can see the lamb's ear just gets so mushy in the winter. And I really would have gotten out here today and cleaned it up, but I just don't want to risk the snow or ice damaging it. So I'm just letting it stay really protected. I also have some lavender I need to move, cut back these grasses, and pretty soon it'll be time to cut back the butterfly bush. This butterfly bush was absolutely stunning this year. So I really love how this bed has come together, but I'm just not sure about these itty bitty boxwoods. So imagine really big roses in front of those. I just don't think that they're to scale. But I can pop them in other places in the garden. I actually almost think they would even do better in more of my shade area. I'm going to have a really large rose right here in this empty spot. And so that rose is just going to be beautiful. So I think I need some taller boxwoods or another type of evergreen shrub. All right, so that's my second garden update that I'm planning on making. And then let's come over down to the patio garden. So in a previous video, I showed you what I'm thinking about adding a garden box for this area at the end of the patio. I'll put a link to that video in the description and I'll show you a picture of my plants. But here is the third dilemma or situation I'm considering. So let me walk around. Okay, at the end of this bed, I'm going to be taking out this rose. This is the rolled doll. And then over at this bed, I'm going to be taking out the Emily Bronte. Now I just pruned these back, but I am going to be transplanting them up to the bed up here at the driveway bed. Okay, so when I move these out, I'm trying to decide what I want to line this bed with. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe I match the same boxwoods for back there and right here. The reason I'm thinking boxwoods, I would love the winter interest of some greenery. And I would also then allow me to really fill the inside of these beds with even more. I have a lot of ajuga, but I can add some more ground cover. I could also even do tulips on the inside so that they come up and are just really beautiful. I like to do a lot of containers, so I still would have those out here, but I would just have a nice clean line of that evergreen interest. I have some boxwoods popped throughout, and they do okay here. I would want to think about which variety. So if you have recommendations and you're in zone 7 or 6, let me know. If you have another idea for me on what to put here, I don't want to do grasses. While this carex is beautiful through the winter, it looks better actually in winter than it does here in the summer. So I'm just thinking the only option is some kind of evergreen. I wish the Japanese hollies came smaller because I would definitely do that. All right, so these beds are doing really well. They will just need minor cleanup um, when it comes time to do that. So again, I definitely want to add the trees, and then I want to move or replace those boxwoods. And then I'd love to add some boxwoods right here in the garden. And I think those structural elements will really make an impact. I have plenty of perennials and, roses and grasses. I've even had to spread some things around, but I think I'm still working on structure. It's really interesting when you start with a blank garden, the structure really takes time. And I did not know that coming in. It's just taken a lot of time to get the bones of the garden where I think the bones could, be here for a really long time. So I'm just continuing to work on those. One thing we did when we moved in is we added these gorgeous arborvitaes. And at the time, they were only maybe 4 feet tall. And oh my gosh, they're just beautiful. They really provide a nice privacy area for our patio. And I just love them. Okay, well, I think that's going to do it for our walk today. I just wanted to show you a little bit about what the winter garden looks like, what projects I'm working on, and also to really get your input on these garden additions. I think it's so important to look at your garden in the winter and really get an idea of what does the structure look like? What does it look like in the winter, but also envisioning how it's going to grow in this season. Now, for me, my garden space it's going into its 4th year, and we started with just dirt. And so we really need to continue adding those structural elements. We've added them every year. We've done a couple more trees, a couple more larger shrubs. And so I just think we now need to add a couple more just to bring it all together. So we've done it just a little bit at a time. We've started with smaller trees. We've started with lots of things that will grow fast and that are super hardy. So I'm really excited for the new year. Let me know in the comments, any ideas you have for the spaces that I'm talking about. But I would also love to know what your garden projects are for the new year. Are you changing any beds out? Are you replacing any trees or shrubs or doing something new and fun? I would love to get inspired from your ideas and just learn more about what you have planned for the new year. Well, I'm going to head inside where it's nice and warm. Today is our last day of sunshine for about a week, but it's really been fun to walk around the garden with you and to think about what's to come. It also makes me know I've got a big winter cleanup list, but we'll get to it in March. I'll see you in the next video.